All right, let's hit the field.
Welcome back, everybody. In this episode, Jack Curry has reported that the Yankees are out on Nolan Arenado and Alex Bregman. Plus, Gleyber Torres has signed with the Detroit Tigers, and why I've changed my mind on Paul Goldschmidt. I think he might be a good pickup. Next, we'll talk about the rumor mill. The Yankees probably going to move Marcus Stroman, a couple of lefties possible for the bullpen, and we'll take a look at the 2024 versus the 2025 Yankees. There's been a lot of people saying, is this team better than the 2024 team? We'll kind of break it down and take a look at how things are shaking out right now. All that and more, this is Pinstripe Territory.
Just wanted to talk, that's all.
Hello! Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday if you celebrate. I've been taking kind of a few days off, and barring any breaking news before New Year's, this will be the final planned and scheduled podcast of the 2024 year, of the calendar 2024, but we will be back shortly after the New Year's holiday to dig into the upcoming season. Hopefully have some fun interviews coming up. But we do have some fairly recent news to get to since the last time that I was online. According to Jack Curry, the Yankees are out on Arenado and Bregman. We'll talk about that. If the reports are true, that means the Yankees are going to have to get creative to fill out their infield. They could go internal. You remember they already traded Caleb Durbin, so they got to kind of shift around second and third base. We'll go over the infield options in just a minute. Also, I spent the last couple of days looking at Paul Goldschmidt highlights, not only offensively but defensively. We'll talk about that. And we're at a time period where not a lot of moves happen, usually between Christmas and New Year's, but we're seeing some movement. Gleyber Torres signed today with the Tigers, so that's interesting. It also sounds like Marcus Stroman could get dealt. So we'll cover all of that stuff. Let's begin, though, with the Yankees' third base plans, their infield plans, because it sounds like they're out on Nolan Arenado and Alex Bregman. I'm not heartbroken about this. We looked at those guys as the two main candidates that made sense because they'd be easy to get. They'd be an improvement over basically whatever you would have there if you move Jazz Chisholm back to second base. Brian Hoke had reported recently that the Yankees were in on Bregman and that the interest was real, but Jack Curry contradicted that statement. He said that the Yankees were never in on Bregman. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in Yankeeverse. Out on both, per Jack Curry. That sounds like it's going to allow Jazz Chisholm to move back to second base, and then the Yankees will fill in at third base with either LeMahieu, Peraza, possibly Cabrera. We'll talk about that. I saw one commenter that mentioned that Jazz Chisholm had some defensive issues when he was with the Marlins. I looked into it, and I didn't see it. Everything I read was that he was solid as a second baseman and that they moved him to center field to kind of maximize his athleticism, take advantage of his speed a little bit. And at third base, I thought he looked fine. I mean, he made some outstanding plays over there. There were also some times that you could tell that he was a novice. Slow rollers are one of those tough plays that you don't really have to make from anywhere other than third and short, and he hadn't played the left side of the infield. You don't really have to make the same kind of throw on a slow roller from second. It's kind of more of a shovel pass a lot of times than it is like if somebody hits a slow roller to third or short, you got to gun it across the infield. So, I thought he did fine. Those plays kind of gave him some trouble, but I'm interested to see what he'll look like going back to second base. And that should give the Yankees a really good team up the middle, right? You talk about what championship teams need, and strength up the middle, right? Good catcher. We got that. Austin Wells, one of the stronger defensive catchers in the American League. Second base and shortstop, good defenders in Chisholm and Volpe. And then center field now sounds like it's going to be Cody Bellinger. Because when the Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt, that means you got to use Bellinger in the outfield. Makes sense to play him in center field where he's a plus defender. So right there, the Yankees have addressed something crucial. They have gotten strong up the middle, which is great. And they're strong at first now because Paul Goldschmidt is a plus defender. We'll talk more about Goldy in a minute. And if they go with LeMahieu or Peraza, yeah, neither one of those guys you can really count on much offensively right now. Peraza still has some upside, but you would definitely be better, on defense at third base, right? So as a whole, the Yankees have gotten better defensively. And we'll talk about the 2024 team versus the 2025 team in just a few minutes. But as of right now, it looks like the Yankees are going towards a pitching and defensive style of play this year, more so than the offense. Jack Rack says, offense is going to be terrible. Don't care how good the defense is. Well, you should care because the defense is what cost us the World Series. And we're going to see if the Yankees can get back to the World Series with an offense that isn't quite as entertaining as Judge and Soto, but maybe a little different style of baseball. So I'm feeling okay about it right now. We'll talk about it. Sounds like Nolan Arenado also going to be Arenado an option. Huh? Arenado not going to get traded here. To their credit, the Yankees are trying to stay away from getting too right-handed, away from adding too many aging right-handed bats. They just added a 37-year-old right-handed hitter who, kind of had a down year last year in Paul Goldschmidt, although he was better in the second half. I don't know if they want to do that again, even though they are friends, Goldschmidt and Arenado. They have a lot of spots to fill. Multiple ways that they can fill them. Whether it's adding a third baseman, adding a second baseman, they got to add some left-handed relievers. Now's the time where Cashman can get a little bit creative, hopefully, and figure out another way to skin the cat, as he likes to say it. And they're saying that it could be a competition between LeMahieu and Peraza at third base. And right now, I kind of believe them because they owe DJ LeMahieu $30 million, right? And Peraza's been kicking down the door for the last couple of years. So let's say you get to Memorial Day and DJ LeMahieu is hitting .238 with one home run and he's 5 for his last 50 with no power, as we expect. He'll get the axe. He'll get DFA'd, and that will open the door for Peraza or someone else. Now, if there really is a competition in spring training, I'm rooting for Peraza, right? Whenever I talk about this subject, by the way, people always suggest Oswaldo Cabrera. And I always tell those people, the Yankees view him as the perfect utility man, a switch hitter who is versatile at multiple positions, right? They don't want to get rid of that versatility. He can hit against any pitcher because he's a switch hitter, and he can play almost anywhere on the field. That's incredibly valuable, especially for the price that they pay him. So I think it's going to be a competition between LeMahieu and Peraza, unless they trade for somebody, which I don't know if that's going to happen. The Rockies have not shown any interest in dealing McMahon. The Angels are trying to win. I don't see them giving up Renfroe. To me, this isn't a Caleb Durbin is our starting second baseman or Bubba Crosby is our starting center fielder type situation. This is a situation where I think the Yankees might actually try and give a competition to LeMahieu and Peraza at third base. So, look, I say this all the time. I'm not a journalist. I am a fan. This is a podcast. I'm allowed to take sides. If there's a competition in spring training, pencil me in for Team Peraza because I want the athleticism back on this roster. And if Peraza wins the job in spring training, that's a really good scenario for the Yankees because that means he played well. And then you've got a young and relatively inexpensive player on a corner position who will give you plus defense, a plus arm, and maybe has a little bit of pop. We saw that. We've seen him go deep in the major leagues. He didn't hit for a high average last year. We'll talk about that, but I think that there's more in there. So, we'll see how that works out. I want to talk a little bit about Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt was somebody who was not on my radar for the Yankees this offseason. I didn't even put him on our big board when we were going over the possibilities for, first base and whatnot. But I really didn't think the Yankees would look at somebody who's 37 years old and think that's part of the solution because they didn't have any prospects. I thought they would go out and they'd get somebody who could play the position for 5-6 years. But I've been starting to look more into his numbers. I've been watching more of the highlights, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from Paul Goldschmidt. He had a much better second half than first half. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but he hit about 230 in the first half and about 270 in the second half. So a much improved second half of the season, which is not something you typically see from older players. And when I was watching the highlight video of his 2024 season, the first half of the highlights, you saw the abysmal numbers on screen. You know, they had the guy's average up there, he's hitting 211 or something. And then the commentary was supporting the fact that he was struggling. Paul Goldschmidt finally breaks through, that type of stuff. Maybe this is the beginning of Paul Goldschmidt getting back on track. And it kind of tells you the story of someone who really struggled to begin the season. But apparently he made some tweaks to his swing. And not only do the numbers get much better in the second half, but the highlights are much sexier. Higher exit velocity, much cleaner contact, some absolute monster home runs. And because I watched his offensive highlights, I was also suggested a video of his defensive highlights, and there's a 3-minute and 20-second video from the account called Eduardo Baseball. That's just, Paul Goldschmidt on defense. And yeah, it looks like he's still got it over there. 4 Gold Gloves. You don't forget how to play defense overnight. He was above average last year, 54th percentile. So the range has probably gone down a little bit as he's aged, but he can still pick it. And it looked like he's still got a good vertical. And he's durable, which is something that the Yankees have not had. Another thing I noticed when I was digging through the numbers is that the dude posts. He just shows up. He's played in 150 plus games in 9 out of the last 10 seasons. And the one year he didn't, it's because there were only 60 games in the season. He played in 58 of them. So the dude shows up to play. I did think the Yankees would go after Nathaniel Lowe. That was my preferred choice. I also thought that Josh Naylor would be an option. He had 31 home runs this year for the Guardians. Both of those guys got traded elsewhere. Lowe went to the Nationals for a bag of chips, and Naylor went to the D-backs for a slightly bigger bag of chips. And I think the Yankees could have beaten both of those offers, to be honest. And my thought was that maybe these teams didn't want to trade him within didn't want to trade them within the American League, right? The Rangers didn't want to help the Yankees, who they could potentially face in an ALCS. The Guardians didn't want to face the Yankees in the ALCS again and have Naylor beat them. So it makes sense that they would trade those guys out of the American League. But one final thing, and that is that Goldschmidt took less money to play for the Yankees because he wanted a chance to win.
I like him already.
4-time Gold Glove winner, former MVP. At the very least, he is going to give you someone who can help the younger guys develop. Maybe he helps teach Ben Rice how to play first base. Ben Rice is another right-handed throwing first baseman. He's also going to be the backup catcher. I'd imagine he's going to get some time at first base and catcher this year to get his left-handed bat in the lineup. That's where he's going to be. And it gives you basically 2 backups with 1 roster spot, something that we've seen Brian Cashman likes. A big reason why they like Oswaldo Cabrera. So, I think that having the tutelage from Goldschmidt is going to be important. I think it's going to help. And I'm growing on the move. So welcome to Paul Goldschmidt. All right, let's talk a little bit about some moves that Brian Cashman, I think, still has up his sleeve. So let's first take a look at the rotation. As you can see, we are 6 deep in the starting rotation. We've got Garrett Cole at the top, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Luis Gil, Clark Schmidt, and Marcus Stroman. Now, Gil and Schmidt, both young, healthy. Schmidt had the pulled oblique, but no other real signs of injury, arm injury, anything like that. Rodon was healthy last year. Fried, maybe a little bit of an injury risk, but year 1 of the contract shouldn't be a big deal. And you hope that Garrett Cole is healthy. He looked good coming down the stretch. Stuff was obviously good in the playoffs. And then to back those guys up, you've got some depth. You got Will Warren, who I still think is dookie. I think they should move him if they get a chance. Just hits a lot of bats. Chase Hampton, we've been hearing about him for a couple years. Brock Selvidge, saw him in spring last year. Lefty, looks good. Ben Hess and Bryce Cunningham, 2 college draftees. And then Henry Lelaine, 20-year-old left-handed pitcher, reminds me of Randy Johnson a little bit, honestly, from what I've seen. And he could move quickly. So that means that they're going to want to unload the $18 million that they're owed to Marcus Stroman. Or should I say that Marcus Stroman is owed. So I think there is a move coming. We talk a lot about the Yankees' money and how they can sometimes flex their financial might. Well, here is a place where you can flex your financial might in the margins a little bit. You could essentially use Stroman and pay a little bit of his salary, right, to give a team a reliable starter who's going to he gave you 29 starts last year. Wait, let me pull up his stats. He was 10-9 in 30 games, 29 starts with a 4.31 ERA, 154 innings. 150 innings is valuable, right? He makes $18 million. If the Yankees say, you know what, we're going to eat $5-6 million of that, which is a lot, you've got a chance to unload him. And if a team sees value in adding some pitching at a reasonable cost, they might be able to give you a better prospect. And seeing how the Yankees don't need another starting pitcher on the rotation, they're trying to clear some spots on the roster so that they could sign some left-handed pitching like Tim Hill, like Andrew Chafin. You know, maybe you can get a lottery pick for, or lottery ticket for him. You know, somebody who Matt Blake has seen highlights of and looked at the metrics on and has been wanting to get his hands on for a while. Somebody in Double-A maybe, that you can maybe turn into another Luis Heel or another Jonathan Loaizaga. That type of arm. I think that's what the Stroman trade is going to be about. Don't look for him to bring back anything for the Major League roster. I think it's going to be a salary dump, and the more money that the Yankees are willing to include in that salary dump, the more of a prospect they will get in return. Now, you see Tim Hill possibly coming back, 3-0, 2.05 ERA with the Yankees. I think it's a slam dunk. He has got to come back right now. The Yankees have 0 lefties in the bullpen. You ideally want 2, and that's why they're also interested in Andrew Chafin. Left-handed pitcher, 34 years old, 4-3, 3.51. He's a journeyman. He's been bouncing around for the last few years, but swing and miss guy. 70 strikeouts in 56 in the third innings. Whip is a little high, but if you use him against lefties, he's deadly. And, that will give the Yankees a lot more swing and miss than they had last year in the bullpen. So that's where we stand as far as the rumors go. So if you're watching for the first time, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We are the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network and YouTube's #1 most watched MLB postgame show for the last 5 years. We're live after every game all season long, and we are about 60 subscribers short from 46,000. So help us get there. It's free. It takes less than a second and a half. I timed it. So hit that subscribe button. Let's go. All right. So the question I keep getting is, are the Yankees right now better than they were in 2024, where they went to the World Series and unfortunately lost in 5 games? And to recap, they've basically replaced Nestor Cortez and Clay Holmes with Max Fried and Devin Williams. And they've replaced Juan Soto, Gleyber Torres, Alex Verdugo, and Anthony Rizzo with Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt. And as of right now, 2 rookies, Jason Dominguez and probably Oswald Peraza. Which brings me to my next topic. And if you follow me on X, you know that I've been watching the Mission Impossible movie. So this is a little bit inspired by that. These are some guys that we need to get better. Dominguez has got to play defense. We know that, of course. But we need some other guys to take big steps forward. And yes, we could get better than we were in 2024 with the right additions. So this segment, Mission Improvement.
Your mission. It.
All right. So right now I've got 4 guys on the screen that I think need to improve in a big way for the Yankees to get better. Now, Anthony Volpe had an improved season last year. He hit less home runs, but he hit for a higher average. He went from 209 to 243. The on-base percentage was still under 300, but from April through about mid-May, he was unstoppable, and then he fell off. He got away from that game that he was playing early in the year. His swing got a little bit long. He needs to develop a little bit more consistency, stretch out those hot streaks, and really shorten those cold streaks, right? If he hits 265 this year, I think that's a success. That would be another 20-point improvement, 22 points. I want to see that on-base percentage get up to 333, so about a 40-point improvement there. I want a few more bombs. He hit 21 his first year, so the power's in there. 12 is okay. I'd like about 18 home runs. I'll take, split the difference, right? Hit a few more bombs, but also hit for a higher average. And the OPS, I want to go up by about 60 points. Now, he should get better just from getting stronger, just from being around the league a little bit more, getting closer to his prime. I could see him beating these numbers. I could see him hitting 280, 290 with 25 home runs. I really could. But right now, we'll take a modest improvement from Anthony Volpe. Austin Wells, I want the same kind of improvement that Volpe had from year 1 to year 2 for Wells to have from year 1 to year 2. I want that average going up to around 255, so a big jump there. On-base percentage, up a little bit more. I'm okay with him selling out for a little bit more power because we need to replace some of those home runs that we lost when Juan Soto took his act across town. I'm hoping for 20 home runs out of Austin Wells next year, which would be an improvement of 7 and a 750 OPS, so about a 32-point increase in OPS. And more playing time. I think all of that is well within reason. Now, here's the big one. Jason Dominguez, I need to take a big step forward. I need him to show us why he is the Martian, right? You don't get a nickname like the Martian and have your entire, international pool budget spent on you if you don't have some special talent. We've seen the exit velocity. We saw what he did when he first came up. We've seen what he's done in spring training a couple of times. The man is legit in terms of skills. Now it's just got to translate. I don't think he was put in a great position when he came up last year. He struggled. He was trying to take somebody's job who was still on the team. This year, a lot of that pressure is off. He's He's going to be 22. He's got all the talent in the world. It's all right in front of him. I should have had the sound effect for that ready. It's all right in front of us. If he hits 260, and let's take a look at his minor league numbers first. In 2024, his minor league numbers were great. 313 average, 376 on-base percentage, so he takes pitches. 11 home runs, 880 OPS. We know he has lots of power. We've seen it in the major leagues. He got called up, didn't do much, 179 average, but look at that on-base percentage, 313. He still took his walks. He still has patient at-bats. That's why I would consider him as a potential leadoff guy if he has a good spring training. 617 OPS in the majors last year. I want him to hit 260 this year with a 340 on-base percentage and 25 home runs. We need this guy to be a Rookie of the Year candidate. 760 OPS. I know those are kind of astronomical numbers. He's paid like a phenom. He was already paid like a phenom. He's treated like a phenom. He's shown all the signs when he first got called up before the elbow injury of being a phenom. He learned English. Oops. I just shrunk one of my overlays. Let me just fix that real quick. He learned English really quickly. He shows all the signs of learning fast, of having a high baseball IQ. Now, defensively, there's no question. He's struggled. There was a play he hesitated on his first call up this year, to throw out a runner at home in the Little League game. That was a sign. And then he struggled with a couple of fly balls, triple deck syndrome, I think. Didn't even get used in the playoffs. I think his confidence was down a little bit. But I really think that he's got a chance to be special. So let's hope he bounces back. And then Oswald Peraza, if he plays, if he is indeed the third baseman, all you got to do is basically put up league average numbers. 250 average, 320 on base percentage, 15 home runs, 715 OPS, and his glove will make him a positive WAR player. So that's where we're at in terms of players who need to get better this offseason, headed into next year. We got a quick super chat here from Swin, who says 3-tier moves make us better than last year. Worst, good move, sign Paul DeJong. Risky move, upside, Nolan Gorman. Elite move, trade for Luis Garcia Jr. I don't think the Yankees are going to make any of those moves. I appreciate the super chat. I mean, it's possible. Paul DeJong, I don't know. I don't know I think he's righty, right? I think if possible, they would like to get a left-handed bat. And I think that, as Frank Marzillis says here, they have a chance to get even better with the right tweaks. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit. Let's finish off this portion of the podcast with a discussion of 2024 versus 2025. I get this question all the time. Are the Yankees better in 2025 versus 2024? And I want to answer this question carefully because I think it's a very difficult question. I think in some ways we're better. I think in some ways we are. And I think in some ways we're not. I think not having Juan Soto definitely makes the lineup less dangerous, for sure. And I think that it makes it less entertaining. But on the depth chart, you can see how things are lining up right now. I think our pitching is in much better shape on paper. I mean, you have to account for possible injuries, too. We lost Garrett Cole for half a season. We lost Jonathan Loaisiga for the whole season. I have a little tradition with my friend Rob. Every year on New Year's Eve, which is coming up, one of us will say to the other, Happy New Year, good luck, we're not all going to make it. And that's true, and I feel like it's true of the pitching staff every year too. They're not all going to stay healthy. You have to have the right mix of high-quality starting pitchers, of high-end relief pitchers throughout the season, and then when you make the playoffs, you got to have the right mix healthy. You can deal with some injuries. You're going to have some injuries. The question is, can you stay mostly healthy going into the playoffs? And that's a big reason why the Yankees made the World Series this year. Their pitching was solid. Devin Williams, instead of Clay Holmes, is 5 more wins. Minimum. Maybe 7 or 8. I'm not kidding. I know that sounds stupid. It's that dramatic. Clay Holmes was that bad in tight situations. One of the position players last year that I think really needs to step up is Jazz Chisholm. You know, he came over to the Yankees, got off to a hot start. He took a step back, but he's a left-handed bat that the Yankees are going to be counting on. He's got to be able to hit against lefties. He's got to play second base well. He's got to be heads up. I think it's going to be interesting to have 2 catchers right now. And right now, I think I have Rice as the backup catcher and backup first baseman, and Wells as your primary catcher. I think it's going to be interesting to have 2 left-handed catchers because you can't platoon. You're going to have these guys facing lefties, which is something they didn't like to do last year if they could avoid it. Giancarlo Stanton is going to be interesting next year. Giancarlo Stanton just turned 35 in November. Absolutely dominant in the postseason. 27 home runs during the regular season. 233 average. 417 at-bats. I would sign up for all those numbers again right now as long as he's healthy in the playoffs because I trust he's going to come through. The man is oblivious to pressure. Jazz Chisholm. Like I said, breakout candidate. Last year, 24 home runs. This year, I want 30, and I want a little more contact. Volpe, like I said, I think he'll take a step up. He needs to. Peraza right now is my everyday third baseman. Can't be worse than Josh Donaldson. Full stop. Judge is Judge. Just need him to show up in October one of these years. He'll probably hit 50-plus home runs and be an MVP candidate again if he's healthy. Bellinger, I think, could be closer to the 2023 version of Bellinger than he was in 2024. Once again, playing for a contract. Dominguez, we talked about. A lot of upside. The bench is a little too thin for my liking, so maybe they can make some improvements there. Grisham, though, solid outfielder. Maybe he can work with Dominguez. That's one of those in-the-margins places where it works to your advantage. DJ LeMahieu, like I said, if he wins the job, which I think he has the leg up right now because he's a veteran and he's paid, and he's got, a history of doing big things for the Yankees. If he wins the job and struggles, I think he gets DFA'd. Otherwise, if he doesn't win the job, I could see him DFA'd either way, and the Yankees could make an upgrade on the bench. So are they better? It's really hard to say. They're built more around pitching and defense at this point. They've got a solid mix of youth and veterans. They've got, a couple of young lefties that could do damage. Rice, Wells. It would be great if we had a prime Don Mattingly, but we just don't have that. And since it costs about $760 million to buy one, it's not easy to get one. Kyle Tucker also off the board, but free agent next year. I think this could work. I think given the lack of improvements in the American League in general, I think the Yankees still have a good shot. I think the Red Sox are stronger. The Orioles are weaker. They lost Corbin Burns. Well, they haven't lost him yet, but they're going to lose him. They're going to lose Santander. The Rays and Blue Jays are no threat, in my opinion. The AL Central is beatable. The Mariners still have no offense. The Astros are going to lose 2 of their best hitters in Bregman and Kyle Tucker. They're not going to be the same. Right now, I think the Yankees have every bit the chance to get to the World Series that they had last year. But the Dodgers, Padres, Phillies would all be formidable matchups. I don't think the Mets are there yet, but they're knocking on the door. All right, I'm going to grab some water. Let's get to some voicemails. All right, let's start with a first call here on Roki Sasaki.
Do you think the Yankees have a chance to sign Roki Sasaki?
I mean, they have a chance. If he was a Masahiro Tanaka fan or a Hideki Matsui fan and wants to follow in their footsteps, sure. But I've also heard that he prefers to play in a medium market, which the Yankees obviously do not have. And then there's also chatter around baseball that it's kind of a fait accompli that he signs with the Dodgers. Now, be interesting to see what happens if Roki does sign with the Yankees. One thing I would consider, and the Yankees might not want to do this, and Roki might not want to do this. What about Roki Sasaki in the bullpen? He can impact a lot more games, not as much stress on his arm. He's never thrown more than like 140 innings. You know, if he becomes a guy who throws 80 innings out of the bullpen, you can still get paid very handsomely, and you can work your way up to become a starter. Referee says, can we trade Carlos Rodon? He sucks. Yankees fan, come on. Appreciate the super chat. I don't see Carlos Rodon getting traded. Although if you sign Roki Sasaki, you're going to have to make room in the rotation. That could be a direction they go, although I believe he's got a full no trade clause. I'll have to double check on that. WT2 says, I'm very curious about Yoan Moncada at third base. He's a switch hitter, excellent third baseman, and absolutely destroys Houston, which is our biggest competition in the AL, along with Baltimore. I've heard off the record from someone who knows Moncada that he hates baseball, that he does not like baseball, period, full stop, which means I don't want him on my team. I do not want him on my team. Another call here.
How you doing? This is Edgar from Brooklyn. Just have your opinion on this. If there's a possibility to obtain Carlos Correa, would a trade maybe for probably Stroman and Jones and maybe another minor leaguer, possibly maybe Peraza or Pereira, one of those two? Total of 3 players, would that be enough for Carlos Correa trade? If they want to load, the Twins want to load salary, what do you think? Thanks, Derek. Big fan.
So I've seen some chatter about Carlos Correa. We've talked about it a few times. He's had the ankle injury, obviously missed some time last year, only had 367 plate appearances. Obviously, when he's on the field, he's still very good. I don't think that the Yankees would give up nearly the package that you suggested. I don't think it would be anywhere near that expensive. I mean, we saw what Cody Bellinger, cost. It was just Cody Poteet, right? When you're taking on a lot of money, you don't have to give up big prospects. And I don't expect that if the Yankees did go after Carlos Correa, that it would be anywhere near that expensive. But I don't think they'll go after him.
Hey, what's going on, Derek? I just wanted to get your take on what you think's going on with the Stroman situation. If you think the Yankees are going to be able to move on from him. Obviously, it seems that if they could have earlier, they probably would have jumped on it. I'm assuming at this point they would probably be trying to kind of hope things boost up in spring training and see what happens with an obvious impending injury, which happens all around the league every year, and hopefully try to deal him to a desperate team at that point. I just wanted to know if you kind of think that's where they're headed, because it seems pretty obvious that they're going to try to dump that salary, or at least a majority of it. And if they're not able to, doesn't seem like many more moves will be able to happen following that. Just doesn't seem like they're too thrilled with going over the Cohen tax mark. That's just my take. Wanted to get your opinion. All right, man.
Appreciate the call, Brian. So, number one, yes, it would make sense to hang on to him and trade him if a spot opens up on another team, or if you have an injury, you can have him fill in. Depth is always good, but depth at $18 million is tough. I think they'll move him before then. I think they'll move him this month or next month, just to free up some salary, give themselves some more flexibility, and I do think that they might have to eat some of the money in order to get a little bit better prospect return. I think they'll have a salary dump much in the way that, Cody Bellinger was just salary dumped on the Yankees. But that's where we're at. I wanted to wish everybody a happy New Year's. Thank everybody for joining all season long. Remind you to like and subscribe. If you're watching this for the first time, comment, like the video, share it with somebody who likes the Yankees. We've been around since 2020, and we're approaching 46,000 subscribers. We've just hit 18 million views, so it's been a really big year for the podcast, and looking forward to more great things next year. I'm planning on taking a little bit more time and probably doing a show on New Year's Day, maybe the day after New Year's Day. We'll see, probably New Year's Day, and to see where we're at. But thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time. Hey, while I've got you here, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Pinstripe Territory is the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network. We are home to the #1 most watched MLB postgame show on YouTube since 2021. We're here after every Yankees game and for reactions to all the best news and rumors during the offseason. Be a part of the show by calling into the voicemail 718-899-1068. Try to keep it clean for me. And if you ever miss us on YouTube, be sure and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars. It'll help other people find the show. Thanks for watching. See ya.